Okay, it's day 73. Happy New Year, everyone. This is what I'm going to call the summary version, the New Year summary version of just how this process works and how effective it is. Even if you're wrong at the beginning of the day, you're a lot more right at the end of the day. Let's put it that way. You're a lot more accurate. And I just would point to these 10 videos of yesterday and some mistakes that were made early in the day and then corrections that were made toward the end of the day. But in one day, 24 hours, a whole understanding of about 5 or 6 different issues came forward. First of all, I call this first one kind of the full flight of the arrow, which is this connection to Harvard, this connection to Laher or Laher, this guy, and really going back to this P-TECH connection. And this is all the way back to Robert Mueller and his hedge fund with Harvard and the Mellon hedge fund and the Cayman Islands account and the whole P-TECH development and this idea of bringing in mercenaries from different countries to protect or hide programming projects from the people of the United States. And one of the first clients that P-TECH has is the FBI. And then they proceed to go to along this DynCorp backbone, all of our most secure agencies, even before DHS was created, to sort of do a back door and get all the passwords and the keys to the kingdom, or the key blueprint of the information infrastructure of the United States government, the secure side of the United States government, including the DoD, all the branches of the service, and all these are being maintained with the Pakistani technology company, P-TECH. So I think that's an important, and then details are filling in people's minds of who was the DNC chairman during these periods of time. Well, from 2001 to 2005, it was Terry McAuliffe, the guy we're currently dealing with now as the governor of Virginia. And then we have, of course, the Mr. Scream, the Dean Scream. So Howard Dean. And then we get Kempner, who's involved as the deputy DNC chairman, and then Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So in this whole effort here toward the end of the year, you really get a sense of the full flight of the arrow and where P-TECH had houses and so forth, and just this whole connection to Harvard and the money laundering and so forth. Not really money laundering, but just sort of hiding this offshore, this whole P-TECH development offshore. Then the second piece is, returning to Brilliant here. Brilliant ends up starting with a thing I called PAX, which is more the program management side. This is, again, a development of a program manager like Laher. But then we also developed the idea of this TABS, and TABS is more the technical acquisition. Well, by the third video of the day, that had transitioned into, all the way over here, this OASIS. And OASIS is really this combined effort of combining PAX and TABS. And this is a longer term. This is the integrated systems. So this is the integrated services. So these are longer term contracts. So basically writing themselves longer term contracts. So going all the way back here to the program management and then doling out the technical work, now you've got OASIS, again, being worked on by Brilliant, this Pakistani technology firm. Again, the keys of the kingdom. Again, the whole blueprint of our most secure networks, including our armed forces. So the third one, we developed the idea of this school here, which looks a lot bigger on a website than when you actually go there. When we actually went there, they had a Christmas tree in the lobby. There was no signage. It looked very much like they had just rented this place out a month ago. There was looked like 4 or 5 tenants in this building that we went to. So that was an interesting piece of, the FBI again wants to push out this idea that this school is radicalizing all these people and so forth, and that's just not the case. It's very much a shoestring operation in Herndon, Virginia. The other piece here is old cases with P-TECH came up, 2003, 2004, and then all the different agencies that they've already been cited for with FBI investigations, FAA, IRS, basically, again, all the DynCorp backbone companies. Then we proceeded to go into these different houses and so forth. And a lot of times people will come up with things like saying, oh, that's not the right house, it's the other house. Well, that's great. If you make a mistake, let's say this isn't the house, I think it is, But let's say you make a mistake. Well, then great. That still moves it forward by making a mistake. It's by an active commission rather than an active omission. And then here, actually going to Dulles Green, I know the first thing is just going there and showing all those grills and thinking about all the halal meat and getting the sugar out of the halal meat before you do that. Just that whole conceptualization reinforces this idea of halal meat and Sugarland and putting the sugar into the halal. And then finally, just, as a summary, going by the DynCorp International and just going to their website and just looking at this huge supply train being loaded every day with all these planes, and you're trusting a company which basically has been convicted of child trafficking everywhere they go, of drug running everywhere they go, of torture everywhere they go, and just has this horrific record. And yet these are the folks that are responsible for carrying tons every day through our airlift effort around the world in 190 different countries. Now, there are great people at DynCorp International, but it's the 5% or the 2% or the 1% that are controlling what's in these packages and so forth, and the diplomatic containers and so forth. So in one day, you see really kind of almost be even pre 9/11 all the way till now. The problem really hasn't changed much. The full flight of the Arrow, these information systems that have been created back here, way back in 1999 with Robert Mueller, or at least 2001, the full flight of the Arrow they're all still in place. These safe houses, or these zero footprint houses is what I call them, so that people don't create any records, are still in play. The cover-up mechanisms here, where Imran has to take the rap for everything, are still in play. The fake FBI school plays are still in play. All right? And then, of course, we also get leads. Every time we go someplace, somebody says, hey, well, did you realize next door was David Lambert? Is that any relation to Mark Lambert? And so forth. So I want to just say that this, even if you make mistakes during the day and you get savaged by people on the internet, these other YouTube wannabes on the internet, etc., it doesn't matter, because it's progressive. And each episode builds on the knowledge of the episode before, and the inevitable is, by the end of the day, you get a compounding of knowledge that it just is superior than any one particular episode, one episode a day.